If you're the type of person that wants to keep learning and growing, you know that there are many obstacles that come in the way. I'm going to share with you what I think is the single biggest obstacle to self-improvement. If you want to be able to recognize this obstacle and overcome it, you'll want to continue watching this video. When it comes to self-improvement, a lot of times people associate it with the idea of being really successful and making a lot of money. I just want to say right off the bat, it doesn't always have to be about that. Sometimes self-improvement is just about finding ways to better your relationship with your partner, or finding ways to be more of a nurturing parent. Regardless of what area of your life you want to improve in, I find that when it comes to learning, there's usually an element of risk. Because when you're trying to take on something new, chances are you're not going to be able to pick it up right away. In fact, you're probably going to get it wrong in the beginning. I'm sure you recognize this. It takes a bit of time, but those early stages when you're learning something new, it can be really hard, especially the first month or two as you're trying to bring in change into your life. Even though change can be a good thing, when we have a lot of it within a short period of time, it can be a shock to our system. It's really hard to stick to what you're learning in the beginning because something else is happening on an emotional level. Let's say, as an example, you take up something like yoga and you have all of these positive thoughts going in. You know that it's going to be good for your health. You know it's going to make you more flexible. And so you go ahead and you sign up for that class. You put down that money, you go into that first yoga session. And chances are within that first week or two, what you have actually learned is that you're not very flexible. Now the same thing goes for anything else, whether you're trying to learn to eat healthy or maybe learn a new language or whatever you're trying to learn. Within the first couple of weeks, what you discover is that you're not very good at it. The more you realize that you're not really good at this new thing that you're learning, the more tempting it is to stop and actually go back to whatever you're good at. In my opinion, the single biggest obstacle to self-improvement is the fear of failing. In those early stages when you're learning something new, this fear of failing lingers in the background and it fuels your self-doubt. And then what happens is your mind starts to throw all of these what if scenarios. What if this happens? What if you sign up for that yoga class, but then you realize you're not very flexible and then you stop, which means you've lost money? What if you take on a new diet, you tell people, and then you can't stick to it? Then it might be really embarrassing. So why even bother trying? All of these thoughts just fuel the fear, and as you become more anxious, there are more thoughts that come in your mind, which means you become more mentally and emotionally exhausted, and then you start to go into some depressive symptoms where you start to feel really tired and you really believe that you're not good at anything. And when you have those sort of internal messages, what tends to happen is that's when you want to stop and give up. This fear can show up in different ways. I find sometimes it comes up in perfectionism. When we're worried about failing, we tend to try and get everything perfect because we don't want other people to see that we're not good enough, so we try and make sure that we're getting everything just right. This fear can also show up in the form of procrastination. Sometimes we postpone things further and further as a way to try and avoid it. A lot of times our fear is connected to some of the past experiences that we've had. If we've tried to learn something new in the past and we've stopped and we've quit, then a part of that fear might be that we're gonna once again quit this new thing that we're trying to learn. Now, if that's the case, I want you to honor this fear and maybe do something different this time as you're learning this new thing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. So maybe what you do is before you go and sign up for the gym, maybe you just get some dumbbells at home and then you try to lift weights at home for a bit of time, maybe a month or two. And then as you build some momentum, then you go sign up for the gym. Over the last 2 months, I've been making these videos and uploading them to YouTube. But every single week, I feel like I'm making new mistakes. And that makes me feel like I'm not really good at this new skill that I'm trying to learn. So a big part of me says, why don't you just stop and do what you're really good at? You have an established counseling practice, you're a good therapist, and just stick to that. You don't need anything more. The problem with this though is that people who love to learn and grow, they're not really looking to have success. They enjoy the learning process. And if you get really good at something and you feel like you're plateauing, there's a part of you that wants a new challenge, a part of you that wants to, on some level, experience the pain of failing. At some point in your life, you realize that the pain that comes along with failing isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you start to realize this is actually the pain that comes along with you growing. I want you to recognize this fear that you're feeling is not your enemy. You don't have to fight it and get rid of it. What you want to do is learn to attend to it so you can help it settle. As you're on this journey of self-improvement, remember that it's okay for you to take your time. As you go one step at a time, try and bring in a helpful, compassionate voice. Because a lot of times we have the inner dialogue where our inner critic comes down really hard on us. But it's really helpful to introduce a different voice, a voice of compassion, a voice that says to you that, hey, you know what? You did a good job taking this first step, second step, and third step. So just keep going. If you found this video helpful, remember to hit the like button. I'm also going to share a video link up here of a video that talks about self-love and how that helps you keep growing. And if you're new to this channel, remember to hit the subscribe button